better game one.
Now, in this case, we're going to see one of those slightly more, as you put it, inbred choices. Main deck Marrow Shards in the hands of Andre Selivri. And he's playing very similar, again, to Charles Gindy, the list that he played. The difference is he's playing 4 Sword of War and Peace. And he's got main deck Marrow Shards. And I believe that Oblivion Ring was not in Charles Gindy's list. So how did he find all the room for this? Well, he cut some cards. He cut Gut Shot. And he reduced his mana leaks to 3. And I think he reduced his Gitaxian probes by 1 count. No, I think that's the same count as Charles had. His opponent, Daniel Choi, with mono red. Normally a wonderful matchup for mono red. It's worth noting that the 4 main deck Sword of War and Peace are not a joke.
Yeah, and they were, I think, more of a metagame call for beating the white creature decks, where if you were watching at all yesterday, you saw War and Peace occasionally dominate those matchups in places where the Pike wouldn't have been as nearly as good, but clearly 4 Sword of War and Peace, also nice to have against your mono red opponent.
For those of you who are just joining us right now, this is the Star City Games Live Open Series here in Los Angeles. I'm Adrian Sullivan, joined in the booth by Patrick Sullivan.
Hello.
Now, as we were saying about like the way that this matchup played out, 4 Sword of War and Peace, not for red specifically, but it's okay that it's against red. And
it's better than okay. Yeah,
it's better than okay. And last round, in the top 8 yesterday, Andre Selivri in Selivra, he actually beat a mono red deck that was packing main deck Ancient Grudge.
Yeah.
×2.
Yeah, definitely. That other red deck in the top 8 was definitely made concessions to improve his blade matchup, but was not enough. So we're underway here, and Daniel's starting off with a turn 1 Grim Lavamancer.
Attack for 1.
And he has the Marrow Shards. Now, Daniel has a couple weird card selections, or non-conventional card selections in his deck. The most of all being Mutagenic Growth, which would have been sweet to have there, but it appears he does not.
And no 2-drop, no second mana from Daniel Choi. Yeah. And pass, says Selivri.
And he just drew the Mutagenic Growth.
Oh, that's so sad. Turn 3, we're going to see our Delver here.
Yep.
Island, 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 Delver versus a Mountain.
This could be a lot worse for Daniel. As long as Andres is not actually presenting any of those untargetable creatures, then he's got a little bit of time to draw a second land and start to get some momentum here.
Galv Blast kills the Delver.
But the minute he finds an Invisible Stalker or a Geist and a white source of mana, this gets pretty bad for Daniel very quickly. So, revealing a hand of Mutagenic Growth, Galvanic Blast, Berserker, Gut Shot, Incinerate, and Hero of Oxidridge. So a hand that's not even especially good even if he draws running lands, unfortunately.
I wonder somewhat if Choi views this matchup as so good that he just didn't want to mulligan and kept kind of a hand that had a couple of burn spells and a single creature.
Yeah.
Remember, he did not have that Mutagenic Growth in his opening hand, so both of these players have also seen each other's deck lists. The top 8 does have full information. Another probe. Doesn't bother looking. He remembers.
Just cycling the probe.
He's got a mana leak or 2 in his hand. At least 1. Here we see a Grim Lavamancer.
Yeah, it's going to get hit by the leak.
Not a fun position to be in if you're red.
Fortunately, Andres still isn't really doing anything, so there's time.
5th mana. Uh-oh. Sword.
So,
now everything he does is a big deal.
Yes. Now it's just a... Can he find a guy?
Or a Moorland Haunt.
Yes.
Or a Midnight Haunting. Like.
Yep, he has a lot of draws where this gets bad fast. So now does he fire off his Gut Shot and try to resolve his Berserker?
I think you're forced to.
Yeah, the issue is he has so many lines of play, you know, Andres...
There's the 2.
He kind of has to go for it, but there's Vapor Snag or Mana Leak makes this play really bad, but...
Or even a creature, then equip, you know,
right.
So... No creature.
I think his hand is 3 lands. Oh no, it's an Oblivion Ring and 2 lands.
Vapor Snag.
Yep. So we're still.
Shrine with a vengeance. Get it down. Resolve.
I'm assuming that's gonna get hit with an Oblivion Ring. No, he's gonna let it stick for now.
1.
I mean, yeah, there's no big rush. So there's a Crag. Finds his 3rd land.
Okay. This ponder is a big deal.
Yep. There's a Moorland Haunt. So this is. Yep, he's just gonna shuffle up. There's 3 lands, one of which was Moorland Haunt, but
you need to have
with
fuel
only
for
one,
a haunt.
with only 1 creature in the graveyard, that's not nearly compelling enough to keep. So he's gonna shuffle up and get a new draw.
You walk through a graveyard. If there's no tombstones, you're not gonna see any ghosts.
Yep. It's just true. It's just kind of the way it works. I was surprised he didn't actually just fire off his Oblivion Ring right away, because if he continues to flood out, like, now he's in the spot where if Daniel wants to, he can start firing off the spells at the end of the turn, and
another sword.
Yeah.
Say drop that Seachrome Coast. Get it out of there. Get it
Yeah, I think he's just
table.
debating between playing the sword and Oblivion Ringing the.
Lay the coast. No need to bluff that. You
Yeah,
might actually want to use that mana at some point.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Incinerate on a turn.
Yeah, this is gonna start to be trouble for Andres.
14 to 18. Also end of the turn. I think we're going to see a mana spent gut shot. It's a very dangerous path for Daniel Choi, but
he doesn't have a lot of time. And
there we go. I like holding back just something in case, you know. Okay, hero.
You need a hero.
Up to 4, in for 4. Selivra is going to just Vapor Snag it.
Yeah. He needs to Vapor Snag because now this is also his spot where he can Oblivion Ring the Shrine and he won't get hit for 4 or 5 points.
Looks like land, snag.
Yeah, he has nothing but lands in his hand. I was surprised he didn't play that coast.
Just to show a fake mana leak up? Or Seachrome Coast, just to develop the mana later.
Right.
Is that another O-ring?
Yeah, he just drew another O-ring. So his hand is 2 lands. Sorry, 2 O-rings and some lands. But just when you have the equipment out, it's like your mana's...
It's going to be tied up.
Yeah, you might need, you know...
Seachrome, like I said last turn, like that Seachrome Coast, exactly.
Right.
You might end up needing it.
You might rip a Ponder, and that's a mana that, you know...
Now, we've actually got to be careful, too, that we don't give away too many plays. From across the room. There's no one in the middle of us.
Oh, really?
Between us and the people all the way across the room. But yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. I think one of the things he might be thinking about is if he has a full hand, he can gain more life.
Sure. But I think if you get your 2 red-white swords on a guy, if you find, like, that's...
Sufficient.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely, but I'm just trying to figure out the path.
Sure.
That he's imagining. It takes 4, goes to 10. Gut shot still in Daniel Choi's hand. Good call.
There's
Midnight
a Midnight
Haunting.
All right, so...
Now, if he had 2 more land, he could
Yeah,
haunt.
this is now where not having made that land drop is a thing.
Yep. That resolves.
If he had made his land drops, then we would be...
He'd be able to double equip.
He would move. Yeah, he would move to 1, assuming that draws out a gut shot. Well, I guess he has Galvanic Blast and gut shot in hand, but it would still force the action.
Oh, is that a...
Yeah, he's gonna gut shot the token. So.
And now, Andres Selivra is actually in trouble.
Yes.
Well, he could be in trouble. It all depends.
Also, was that...
I see a Mutagenic Growth, a Galvanic Blast, and I can't tell the last card.
Right. It was whatever his draw step was. Alright, so the hero's going to get in and the token can't jump block. And before damage, looks like he's going to cast the Mutagenic Growth. So that's a 6 ball. So yeah, he's going to go ahead and he rips a Vapor Snag. So between the Vapor Snag and the Oblivion Ring, his head's above water for another turn.
I wonder if he will learn the lesson of the constrained mana. There we go. Goodbye, hero. Says go. For life, not very much. Phoenix, that was a really good draw there.
That is a, yep, that's good enough for the concession. The other play that I was a little curious about was the Midnight Haunting turn. I feel like you're better off Oblivion Ringing the hero, and instead of trying to play the Midnight Haunting, you know from the earlier Gitaxian Probe that you're not going to be able to equip that turn. So Oblivion Ringing there saves you 4 because the hero doesn't hit you. Also, you get to make a land drop. The subsequent turn, you can make another land drop, and now you have Midnight Haunting and 4-up, and it's way more likely that you're going to be able to
absolutely
actually get that piece of equipment on your token, and then you can start trying to take the game over from there.
Absolutely. Okay, so for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined here by Patrick Sullivan.
Good morning.
And if you have been watching us all weekend, you know that kind of the story of the weekend has been the continuing play of the blue-white decks, whether they are Moorland Haunt supporting Haunted Humans, kind of a white weenie build, or whether they're Moorland Haunt supporting Delver and equipment.
Yep.
But also in our top 8 yesterday morning, and you can see this in the coverage in the deck lists, there was one deck that was being played that we actually thought might have had a good chance to knock out one of the blue-white Delver decks. This deck was pretty much perfect.
Yep.
You know, it was 60 perfect cards, and since he had the 60 perfect cards, he had no sideboard.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his draws in the
were
top
pretty
8 were pretty bad. Pretty bad.
And you know, to be clear, as Patrick put, obviously not having a sideboard is a problem. My question to you: to win 3 or 6 months now of Star City Games Premium, what color combination was he playing with his perfect 60 deck?
Yeah.
He was playing no sideboard, top 8 at a Star City Games event here. I think it's the first time we've ever had a no sideboard deck,
I have to assume,
you know, make the top 8. There were hundreds of people here, and here he comes marching in, no sideboard. Hashtag SCG Premium. What color combination?
2-color deck.
2-color deck. What two-color combination did he play in order to make the top 8? Put the answer to hashtag SCG Premium. One lucky person with the correct answer will get 6 free months of Star City Games Premium.
So it looks like we're moving on to sideboards here. So let's take a look at what we got here. Andres has quite a bit of action. He has a Batter Skull. He has 2 more Marrow Shards he might want. He has 2 more Gut Shots he could potentially want. He has 2 copies of Timely Reinforcements. So a lot going on there. The cards, what is he looking to cut here? I assume Merfolk Looter is the first.
Merfolk Looter is gotta go.
First one to go.
Mana Leak, I would say, is the next one that's weaker. However, Mana Leak is reasonable against a card like Hero of Oxidridge, which can really do damage in a late game.
Yeah, Daniel's deck actually has a fair number of... he has 2 copies of Hero of Oxidridge, but otherwise, it's not doing a ton there.
One card that I have found that is unexciting in this matchup is I found that Gitaxian Probe is not particularly good against red, because basically their hand is creatures which are on the table or are going to be on the table, and burn spells which kill your guys.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter which ones. You know, either they have stuff or they don't, and if they have stuff, you're just in trouble, and if they don't, well, you know, that's great, you're going to win.
Right.
So the 1 mana or the 2 life, both of which are actually big resources. The danger of taking out the Gitaxian Probes, though, the probes really help make the deck's mana work. I mean, the deck is not playing enough lands, but Gitaxian Probe helps it work.
Yeah, Gitaxian Probe is part of the equation for justifying its land count, so it's always danger. I think a lot of people have the instinct of taking out their cantrips, and often, I mean, it's interconnected with other parts of the deck, and they help you, you know, find your sideboard cards faster, which is sort of a...
What I usually like doing is if I'm playing 4 probes, I like cutting about 1 or 2 probes, depending on how much I want to go in. Because like you said, you just can't go too far into it.
Yeah.
He's only got 3 probes, though.
I also wouldn't mind shaving out a Vapor Snag, because you don't want to draw a bunch of those. Like the game's going to be fought on the ground, and you're trying to slog through their removal. So the tempo game becomes less attractive to play, especially after board when Daniel has access to Slag Storm. So if you're playing a bunch of bounce spells and he's putting in a bunch of sweep, it's probably going to be hard for you to win the game quickly. And then those, the fact that you're drawing all these bounce spells instead of actual action it catches up to you.
I mean, his access to Ancient Grudge from Daniel Choi, that makes a lot of the ways that that Andres Selivra is going to plan to try to fight this game less reasonable.
Right. So how do you think he's going to sideboard? On the draw, I would always take out Noble. That's like just the first guy to go, especially if you're bringing in Slag Storm. Then it's
I think this is going to be one of those a couple opportunities where we might disagree a little bit. Even though you're playing with Slag Storm and playing against Marrow Shards, just when I've played against Delver, Noble was one of the cards that was just defining in the matchup.
Sure.
Even when you were had a slow draw, just because almost every creature they have is a human. Only Geist of Saint Traft is not a human, and so you're in a unique position where the Noble does actually connect. I actually don't like the mutagenic growths very much, even if they help against Marrow Shards, because I think that's the only card they help against.
Well, they also kind of play well with your own Slag Storms, so...
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I mean, actually not really. It's only really saving Phoenix, because everything either... I guess Berserker too. Okay, so there's a couple things.
It's honestly a hard sideboard for him.
Yeah, I would be... I mean, cutting... knowing that he has all those Marrow Shards, I would be surprised if he sided up to 4, but
actually,
he probably has at least 2.
Actually, I would cut Berserker. The reason that you can't expect combinations to happen, like we saw what happened when he got shot into Berserker. Between Vapor Snag and other things, Berserkers, if they even get to 3, get reset, and a lot of times they just end up being a 2-mana 1/1, because in order for you to make it work, you have to cast the burn spell because you don't have a creature that's attacking, or you already have a creature that's attacking, like a Noble, and they're just falling down underneath and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Berserker is a reasonable cut as well.
Andres Selivra does not seem to like his hand.
They're both going back.
I thought he was just drawing a lot of cards.
Probing into Ponder or whatever on turn 1?
Yeah. It is worth noting that Midnight Haunting is another, and Moorland Haunt do provide spirits to be able to stop the Noble, but usually by that point, the Noble is often a 2/2, if not a 3/3.
Yeah.
So we have a question from out in the universe of, do you look at the top before mulling? What do you do?
I assume that means, do you look at the top after mulliganing? Since
well,
looking at the
after
top
you declare a mulligan,
oh, okay.
right? Yeah. So you declare a mulligan. Do you look at the top card?
No.
Why?
I don't know. Like, the decision's right or it's wrong, but what the top card of the deck is has nothing to do with whether or not the decision's right or wrong.
I always look at the top every time, and it's one of those things where I feel like it's just a little bit more data. And generally speaking, I feel like the only reason that one doesn't need to look at the top is if you feel like you're going to start making bad decisions. Like you say, the decision's right or wrong. And sometimes there are those corner cases where you're like, this is a close one. And knowing whether something breaks after hundreds and hundreds of games of playing a deck, for example, knowing whether something breaks at 46 or 47%, I'm just making up those numbers for the sake of argument, can be reasonable if you are doing some close math.
To me, it could only lead me down the path of the roulette wheel came up black 5 times in a row, time to bet on red. And, I just don't want it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as
So
long as
I'm
you're
just going down to 5 here?
I think so.
Yeah.
As long as you don't believe that the dice have memory, like the classic bad gambler's maxim, the dice have memory, right? It's not the case. If you roll a 6, it's not going to be less like the 6 has been used up.
Yeah.
That's less hot now.
Right. So yeah, I do not look. It's in my head, I can do this sort of like, well, I'm 50-50 to draw. I'm on the draw. I need to draw a land in the first 2 turns. I'm, you know, whatever it is, 50-50 on each draw step, which puts me at, you know, 70 whatever to percent to hit, weighing that against like
Right.
what's you know, my expected outcome on a mulligan, and whether or not the top card of one of the top 2 cards of the deck was a land or not is like, well, that's just a random permutation. Like I
Right.
know what the odds are that that's the case, or if it's not the case, and
I think there's the other element too of like, if you're somebody that tilts, you probably shouldn't look, period.
Yeah.
Because if you're, just from the psychological element of the game, if you're the kind of person that you look and you're like, oh, God, and
Right.
now my day is ruined, well, you probably shouldn't have. You know, you're just setting yourself up to be in a position where you're out of your own mental game.
how's our 5? Yeah, looks good. So Andres looks settled in with his 5, and he has a turn 1 Seachrome Coast and a Delver.
And Daniel Choi wastes no time.
Doesn't even want to.
Gotcha.
Doesn't even want to look
No
at the
more
draw step.
information.
Yeah. Could that have potentially influenced things? Yeah, maybe. But whatever. That thing's dead.
Noble. Turn 1 Mountain Noble. Andres waits and then makes the decision.
No second land, unfortunately.
Only 3 cards left in hand. Remember that he did double mull.
I believe his hand is a Gut Shot, a Midnight Haunting, and a mystery.
I think that you are correct.
Is it?
Second land, Moorland Haunt.
Yep.
I think that's a Oblivion Ring and a... Is that
Yeah,
a
that-
Revoke Existence?
Revoke Existence seems
That seems like a weird choice, but it looks like a
Difficult-
Revoke Existence to me.
difficult to justify. I guess for Shrine, but
Shrine and Sword of War and Peace?
yeah, even if the sword's still in his deck. All right, so Oblivion Ring for the Phoenix. And no play, so, and a timely reinforcements for Andres. So we've actually got a game now. No play from Daniel, signifying obviously that his hand is all lands and spells. So Andres is going to have a little bit of time to draw out here. So we're going to make a Moorland Haunt token here.
Another land.
Yep.
In for 1.
So Andres is in very good shape now, I think.
Says go. Grim Lavamancer? Yep.
Yep. I assume that's going to that's
Oh,
going to
boy.
earn a Gut Shot.
1 from a Spirit. We're going to see, I think, Invisible Stalker.
Well, they
That does make his timely a little less good.
yeah. So
I still like putting the Stalker down.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still going to be gain 6 at some point. So it's hard for it to be too bad.
Lays the Stalker. This is a card that a lot of people that when they tested against told me that they didn't realize how much it changed certain matchups.
Yep. There's a lot of decks that just can't touch that thing.
Daniel says go. Slag Storm. When I can't remember who it was that
seems fine.
was talking about this card when it was printed. It might have been Evan Irwin. It might have been someone else. But I do remember them saying, "I just don't know if this card's any good." And I was like, "Seems like a fine card to me." Like
2 good modes.
we see a gut shot on the spirit, the
I'm not
spirit
a
of the
huge-
Invisible Stalker.
I'm not a huge fan of that play, and the reason why is when I'm playing against decks that have timely reinforcements after board, I'm really apprehensive about ever killing a marginal creature when they're ahead on creatures, because now any creature that Daniel draws means that Andres's timely reinforcements is completely kicked up. Whereas if he just takes the hit from the Spirit, it means, let's say he draws Chandra's Phoenix or something like
Right.
that. Now he's still not facing down the 3/1/1s. So I would have been happy to take a couple hits there before gut shotting. And that's before factoring in something like, well, you have Shrine to draw, so you don't really want to fire off your red spells at, less than the optimal time.
But remember, folks, mono red is easy.
Yeah. Playing against timely reinforcements, if you can let them keep a marginal creature, and you have an empty board, just do it. Because that means your Phoenix or your hero or whatever, they're not going to get the full value if they fire it off.
3 mana from Daniel Choi. 2 mana, 3 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 2 mana.
What's going on here? Oh, we have the Gutshot Berserker play again?
I think we do. Berserker? I'm confused by the form. It looks like Gutshot Berserker, and it looks like 4 mana is tapped. I'm sure there is a reason.
Yeah. And see, now this is exactly the scenario I was talking about. Now the timely reinforcements is just the full-ons.
Another classic mono red player from the past, Ronnie Serio, chimes in online telling me also a couple of hits from the Spirit means that the timely reinforcements life gain turns off.
Yep. And so Andres is just pondered into red-white sword and 2 islands, and he's kind of flooding out already. So the question mark is the sword worth enough to him to warrant drawing 2 lands? The thing that has to be on his mind is the fact that Daniel still has a bunch of spells in his hand. One of them could easily be Ancient Grudge.
Absolutely.
So overvaluing that sword may not be.
The judge says about Daniel Choi, that mana float, no particular reason that it just was floated. Timely. Look at that. 1 life behind becomes 5 life ahead. 3/1/1s in play. How do you feel about that? Okay. If you're not sure, last night Patrick and I, went out, so maybe that could be it. He incinerates himself to turn off the life gain. That is effective reduction of.
I suppose that. Suppose that's true.
I mean, he just sixed on Andres by doing that, right?
Sort of. If we assume Healing Salve and Lightning Bolt are the same card, then yes, that is true. Also, now with no hand, all right.
Hero.
Not a bad draw.
Take 8. Go to 5. Now, with the 3 cards in hand, it's going to be 4 cards. There's enough mana here for he can sword gain 3, but he might not be able to be in good enough shape.
Yeah, it's actually just he needs to leave his guy back on defense, actually, to prevent. Well, I don't know where this. Oh, he has enough mana to. Hold on, did he underpay? Is there only 4 mana taps?
There's only 4 mana taps there.
Hold up 1 second. I mean, he has a land drop he can make here, but it's. Hold up.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go. And now he just has to, after combat, drop a card.
Right. So basically, we're looking at, we need a Grudge here.
Or a... Is that a Grudge? Is that a Grudge?
Holy!
Oh!
Woo! All right, there it is. Those were some mighty fine draw steps right there from Daniel. Not bad. All right, so Daniel Cho 2-0 moving.